Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and this is Inside Indy. What's the saying? How does it go? Sunday is one of the most segregated days of the week, meaning the church. And so we want to talk about that, why that is, and solutions. And here in the studio to join us is Sean Shelby, Pastor Sean Shelby of Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Indianapolis. Welcome to the show, Pastor.
Thank you for having me.
Tell folks where Ebenezer Baptist is.
Our main campus is at 1901 North Harding in Indianapolis. We've been there 60 years. This is our 60th year as a ministry. We also recently launched a second location in Carmel. So we're currently meeting at Creekside Middle School. So we have two locations now. Okay. One ministry, but two locations.
Okay. Now you said the 60th anniversary, or
Yes.
60 years, which obviously you haven't been the
No.
pastor the entire time. So how long have you been over Ebenezer Baptist?
This is my 6th year. I am the third pastor in the church's history. The interesting thing about the coming together is the founding pastor was out of my home church here in Indianapolis, and therefore it was a culmination of things that he came out of the same church I came out of, and I'm the third pastor. So that's been an interesting fact that a lot of members like that point of view.
Okay. Now you heard me open with the statement, and you hear it often, that Sunday is probably the most segregated day of the week, and meaning that churches, you hear people say the black church, the white church, the Hispanic church. And when we think about the church, at least biblically, the kingdom is supposed to be one.
Yes.
So when I say that, what are your thoughts and feelings about that?
I think there's a couple of things. One, churches evolve from communities. I always tell people what makes a community, what makes a neighborhood. There's a couple of attributes. Not only do you have homeowners there, you have the church and you have a school. Those things what make a neighborhood. So early on, many of those, the segregation came into place, at least my perspective is, it came from that grouping. Churches are in neighborhoods, are in communities, and those communities are often surrounded by people of color or predominantly white communities or Hispanic communities. They were the norm. Today, as churches have branched out, as we've gotten bigger in the appeal, it's still the message is the same. I think it's a cultural experience, right? That drives that still. I think it's a familiarity. People go where they're most comfortable, and then there's I guess the welcoming, the difference. I think the way we look at it at Ebenezer is that all people are welcome from all walks of life. So for us in the city, not only are we looking culturally at people who are non-African American, but we're looking at people who are Hispanic, people who are Caucasian. We're looking at all of the diaspora of people. But for me, it's bigger than that. It's about diaspora of faith. So we welcome all faiths. You don't have to be a Baptist to come to our church and hear a relevant word. We're blessed to have people from different faith stories joining us, becoming a part of the ministry. So that's a change. So you're going to definitely get people from that background. But as our communities shift, as families' dynamics change, you see now blended families, not only from a religious standpoint, but ethnic background, racially, that draws them in because it's the familiarity of the story. And for the black church, it's a return to Renaissance because black culture is something that the larger community has always enjoyed, from rap music to dress and fashion.
To Michael Jackson.
Yeah, all of those things have opened up the experience. And so for us, being in the city has been that kind of story, welcoming all, even in a community that's going through regentrification, which has got everybody up in arms and nervous. I'm like, no, we're still going to be the same black church we've always been, not black in the way of a who comes here, but from a religious understanding, our cultural experience. So there's music, there's the instrumentality, there's the preaching style in which we do are part of our church. And now it's become the broader message now that is not really considered the black church, but you will still have people say, well, this mega church guy sounds like he's stripped straight from the pages of the white church, or the female pastor, it seems like she's coming out of the black church experience. That's just the diaspora that's changing. And I think that's coming from us. I love that. And that's what brought us to Carmel. I said it was interesting. Carmel, from a demographic perspective, is shifting, especially the west side. It's a huge, diverse community now, not what it used to be. And I was just struck by the fact there was no place to worship. Again, my thought is you worship where you live. And so if I live in Carmel, my kids go to school in Carmel, I should worship where I live. That makes community, that makes the church be the heartbeat of the community. And I think a community with no soul is missing something. And we want to be the soul of Carmel by
Okay.
bringing that experience that we have in the city, bring it out here. I mean, it's that whole cross-pollination, I guess, right?
Well, I was going to use the word crossover because you were talking about music earlier,
Yeah.
and sometimes that's what people are drawn to at any given church.
Yeah.
There's a church called Legacy Bible up
Yes.
here in Noblesville, and they're known for the traditional music that they play, and they have an orchestra and a conductor, and and people who love that style of music.
Right.
And then you have a lot of churches that have rock bands, and so you're right. A lot of people aren't necessarily is it about color as much as it is the music or what's
music.
the worship style.
Yep, it's the worship experience. What am I going to experience when I'm there? Our goal is to get you connecting with the Lord. Different things work for different people. But at the base of it, it has to be the Word of God. It has to be that Word. And so I don't get really into the surrounding aspect of it. I make sure I preach a relevant word that's important for today. And that means I don't shy away from things that affect both people of color or people who are non-people of color. So when you come into our worship experience, it's for all people. And that's where I think we retreat to our own cubbies when we stop being authentic. And I think in a lot of the churches that are having a return to the small church, to the community church, to breakout groups, is coming from that need to connect in. And so I want people to be connected with the Word. I don't care what your faith background is. I don't care what race you are. I want you to enjoy serving the Lord. I want you to understand His Word. I want you to be a change of the change that this world needs. When there's so many things that are dividing us, I think the Word can unite us, and we have to be willing to come together. And so for me, I think I embrace that, and that's what we're bringing in our ministry.
Okay. You were recently on the cover of the Carmel, is it called Carmel Magazine?
It's the Carmel Current. It's a
Carmel
weekly.
Current. Say that 3 times.
Yeah, it's a weekly. It's in the suburbs. And so I think Zionsville has one. You have one in Westfield.
Yes.
And so it's a weekly that emphasizes things that happen in the community. And we were just blessed that they came and interviewed us and saw our worship and experienced the worship and did an article on it. And I when people get with media, you get nervous on how you're going to be portrayed. And I think for the most, for something that was new to us, it was great. I mean, it was spot on what we want to represent to the community and how we want it to be presented. And that unknown fact that we're the first African-American church to plant ourselves in Carmel is huge. And so now our challenge is finding ourselves a home where we can be there. It makes no sense to say we're a Carmel church and have to be on the outskirts. So now I'm looking earnestly to find us a place because people are responding. The interesting thing about it, I think, with Carmel being this changed community, saying, well, we don't have to have necessarily a black church. But I have to explain to them, we have a Greek Orthodox church, we have an Indian church, we have a traditional Catholic church, there's a Mormon church, a Latter-day Saints
Korean,
there.
I've seen
Koreans. I mean, there's all faiths represented. And it comes out of that cultural experience, right? And so for us to be a large population of Carmel and not represented was a big thing for me. And being someone, like I said, I live here in Carmel, and that's the thing I wanted to bring that experience and bring people like that together and say we can worship together. And I tell them all the time, if we can go to a predominantly white church, likewise they can come to a predominantly black church.
Right.
There's no difference. And yes, there's going to be a coming together. Yes, all God's people are one people. We believe that. We love that about God and His people and the diaspora that He's given us. But it's more than that. I mean, think about it. We think we are separated by economics. We think we believe in the black church. The most forgiving place, mind you, I think is the black church. And we welcome everybody in, no matter what your social economic background is, no matter what your struggle has been. We say, come in here and God can change your life and make things different. And if we can get that across the board, I think Carmel will be a better place for us being there. I think those who come in to experience our worship are going to love it because we do it different up here. It's called EBC Life, so we're intentional about making it about the word and about the worship. And so we're not offering all of the bells and whistles you would get at the other churches. We're not offering the big giant band. We're not offering all those things. We're offering a praise and worship experience, and we're offering the preached word. And we try to make the word relatable to children. And we do that within a 45-minute format. And so for the Black church, that's definitely not what you're going to see.
Not 3 hours.
No. So it's a 45 minutes worship.
And we've got just about 2 minutes
Yeah.
left. What's been the reaction in Carmel so far?
It's been tremendous. We have not only just from the broader community, but from people of color. I get all the time like, wow, I didn't know you were here. Now, mind you, we've been here since May of 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And people are like, I didn't know you were here. I'm like, we have signs out. We've been passing out postcards. We've been doing everything we can. And they're just now experiencing us. So that's great. So that's helped us 100%. It recently gave me a little bit more connectivity with the community. I've been able to reach out to, there's a Martin Luther King celebration coming up. And I reached out, I just called the mayor's office. I said, you're doing this event and we're not a part of it. How can I be a part of it? She said, well, the program is done. I said, well, you don't know who I am. I don't care about being on the program. I just want to be present. I mean, we're an African-American church. You're doing something for Martin Luther King. We should be there and you should know that we're here. So that was the first thing. But then Interfaith Partnership came up with Pastor Jerry. He's the Carmel Church right across from Carmel High School. He met me for lunch and said, let's do something, man. He's like, this is awesome. Come in with us and be a part of this thing and we'll support you. And right off the bat, he says, I will connect you. That's the thing I hadn't known, how to get connected. And he's like, I know you're here now. I think it's a great thing you're doing. I think it's needed in Carmel. How can I help you? So he's connecting me with people. And so that's been great. From the school responses to people seeing me in the grocery store to the favorite place, Target, everybody goes. They see me there. I mean, it's been warm. It's been welcoming. People have been excited. People who are people of color have said, can I come to your worship? And I'm like, no, those people we want, absolutely you can come. And we're excited to have them come and experience what we're doing.
Okay. And that's interesting about experiencing other places of worship because like Covenant House Church, I think on Lafayette Road is a primarily Nigerian church. So if you, instead of paying for a trip to go overseas, just go visit one Sunday.
Just go visit. I mean, there's the experience is vast and broad, but we are trying to be that presence here, making a local imprint and trying to have that local impact. And it is about sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ at the end of the day. And if we can't be in our own communities, if we can't welcome people of different faiths in, of people of different ethnic backgrounds, if we're not welcoming to that, we're going to miss out on the great experience called Jesus Christ.
Amen. Are you preaching today? So, okay, website, if people want to know more about Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church in Indy and or Carmel.
Yes, the experience in Indianapolis is Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church. We dropped that name, so that's the old name. We're actually going by Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
To have that new experience. And then in Carmel, we used our tagline called EBC Life. So you're the same church. It's me preaching both, but we have a little different way we look at it. One is our more traditional, one is our more, I call it contemporary worship experience. But it's a long email address, but it's Ebenezer, EBENEZR, Church, Indy, INDY.org.
That's not too bad.
Okay.
So, okay, Pastor Sean Shelby, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
For joining us here on Inside Indy. And we'll be back with more here on Inside Indy after this.
I have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day,
one man's dream of racial equity and harmony, unity, seeing people as people, created in the image of God, is central to the Christian message. Acts records, "From one man he made every nation of men." God did this so men would seek him.
With this faith, I will go out with you and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. With this faith, we will be able to achieve this new day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing with the Negroes in the spiritual of all, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
And we're back here on Inside India. It is 2020, a new year, and that means the traditional New Year's resolution, and I know you've got some. I've got a few of my own, and of course, one of the biggest ones of our lives is getting in shape, losing weight, getting rid of bad habits. And so we're going to talk to a couple of experts in the studio today from the Hamilton County Sports Complex. We have Brandon Mann. You are the owner of The Weight Room.
Yes, I am.
All right, which is located at the sports complex. And then we also have Taylor Musker. She's a head coach at A Plus Gymnastics. All right, at the Sports Center. Welcome to Inside Indy.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I started off talking about people losing weight, and one thing that's probably changed from when I was a kid was that kids are being affected by diabetes, obesity, and a lot of adult diseases, so to speak. But you work with children.
Yes.
Because when I think of weightlifting, I think of, adults. I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think of The Rock, adults.
Right.
But you work with children. How's that work?
So I got into training youth probably about 7 years ago. I have a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. And I was doing some personal training and coaching fitness at the time. And my daughter actually approached me and said, "Hey, Dad, will you show me how to do that stuff?" And so then I pulled her aside and I started to show her how to do a snatch, which is an Olympic lift. And we went through and played for a little while, and she was having a lot of fun. And more kids from the kids area that was at the gym that I was at the time, they were interested in it, and they kind of wanted to start. And from that point on, it kind of just blossomed into the kids are more than capable of being able to do what the adults do. They just do it on a little bit different level. And
Now, what do you mean by that? They do it on a different level?
so maybe intensity is a little bit different in the beginning for youth, and there's a big learning curve, but I think there's a big learning curve for adults in the same respect. And how I work with them is we just start from the ground up and build them through each kind of movement. And I show kids as young as 8, even some of them are 7. Every type of barbell movement, from like the clean and jerk and the snatch, which are movements that you'll see in the Olympics, to pull-ups and handstand walking and all kinds of other activities in there too. So really broad training of fitness.
So why do you think that children have not been a part of weightlifting? And I had never really thought about it until I found out about you.
I would say, I think one of the biggest things that has been this stigma around weightlifting is that there's actually no science out there on it anywhere, but said some doctor somewhere along the way had said that lifting weights as a child is dangerous, or it stunts their growth, or things of this nature. And I'd actually encourage anybody to go Google, "Is weightlifting safe for children?" And you'll see plenty of response that it's actually never been proven that it's not safe. It's just a matter of making sure that you have a coach that's training them in proper mechanics and helping them move the correct way. I think these guys could probably attest from a gymnastics standpoint that just because they're 6 or 8 or 10 doesn't mean that they can't do something that's somebody that is 18 or 20 or 30 can do. It's just a matter of kind of building the skill set to be able to help prepare them, and they can start as early as they want. And kids, I think, have a lot of fun with it.
Okay, now Taylor, you've been nodding your head there. So what were your thoughts on some of the things that he was saying?
I think what he does is fantastic. I think getting kids into something that's not only innovative but fun to get them moving is a great thing. And it's a new untapped market. Like, lots of kids haven't had the opportunity to do what he does, and they don't have access to the equipment like that at certain gyms, or most gyms you need supervision from an adult, or they don't have access to it. It's not something like a class you could go take. So I think it's wonderful what he does.
Okay. So because I think about how young is too young?
I mean,
When should they
ultimately,
start?
the biggest thing that I ask for, I start my age groups at 8 and up. I've worked with kids that are younger. It's really, are they ready to pay attention? Are they ready to work in a class environment? I do individual one-on-one sessions and things like that, but ultimately with the younger age group, the goal is get them in and let's have some fun with fitness. And then as fitness becomes fun to them and maybe they get introduced to some of the Olympic lifts, is kind of where we'll start to bend towards. And some kids, once you put a barbell in their hands, it's like the coolest thing ever for them.
Wow.
really helps to boost confidence, I think. Helps to give them like a new respect for something. And as they get the chance to kind of work in there, it really starts to maybe change a trajectory as opposed to only being able to play soccer or basketball or baseball. And youth Olympic weightlifting, as an example, is, I mean, it's a national sport. It's competed in the Olympics even, and things of that nature. So it's kind of a really small market, but it's growing pretty exponentially, I would say.
Okay, I want to talk more about that whole the Olympic aspect, but I want to ask Taylor about what she does. Now, you were a coach for gymnastics.
Yes.
Right. And so who are your students and the ages and so forth?
So I particularly work with kids from 9 to about 18. I also do adult rec stuff too, so it's not just limited to kids. We also welcome adults. But I coach our competitive program. So I'm getting kids ready that have never competed before to learn their skills and to get their basics down so that they can go to a competition and potentially move forward to state competitions within Indiana, and then regionals, which are outside of Indiana, and then nationals.
Now, how often do they train with you? Because, you know, when you think on those who are who are competing, say, in the Olympics, it's an all, you know, they're like, what, up at 4, and it's all day, and they have tutors.
Yeah.
Is that the lifestyle of the kids you work with?
So not necessarily. You can train to that extent, but my kids in particular train 3 days a week for 3 hours at a time so that they can still go to school and have social lives, and then also put school first and then do other activities as well.
Okay. Okay, very cool, very cool. So, you know, what's interesting about what you were saying, Brandon, that kids have kind of been left out of the loop on this. And I used to say this, I used to work on radio, I used to say this on the air all the time. I'd say, why don't our parents start us exercising when we're little? And I don't mean like go out and play, but you know, you make them make their beds and you say, okay, you can't leave until you do 10 sit-ups, 10 push-ups, and 10 jumping jacks. Even though it's not a lot, but it's establishing the habit. And our parents did not teach us that. And then all of a sudden when you're grown, they'll say, oh, now you should bodybuild, or now you should just be fit or start exercising. Well, you went to school to get ready for the work world since you've been 5. How come you weren't exercising since you were 5? So what are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think it really goes back to, I think, like, I don't know, the belief around exercise in general is, you know, kids are going to get their exercise via a sport. And as opposed to thinking of like what I do at the weight room and what I coach, it works very similar to how you could make any sport go. So I work with a lot of kids that, you know, maybe they tried out for a team didn't work out so well, or maybe they weren't enjoying the sport as much and they wanted to continue to do something, and now they can come into an environment where it's not necessarily a team, but it's a group and everybody's kind of participating in the same activity to be able to work towards common goal, and they get to have fun at the same time. I think you know, from a parent standpoint and being able to like show the kid, I think that in many aspects, like the parent isn't necessarily ready to be able to show the kid. I think that they just kind of expect that they can do things. And
that's true.
The other one is I have many kids come in that you know, I watch as time kind of develops, and even to get them to hang from a pull-up bar sometimes is really challenging for kids in the beginning. And I can think back to when I was a kid, like that's what we did. Like we just hung from pull-up bars all day, and that was recess. And I think that's kind of slowly faded off into the darkness, and I'm really just trying to bring it back out.
Okay. Now, when I think about weightlifting, and then you mentioned Olympic style weightlifting. So how are they different? And that's what you specialize in on the Olympic level. Am I saying that right? I didn't know there were two different worlds.
So Olympic weightlifting by definition is the clean and jerk and the snatch, which are two lifts that are performed in the Olympics. And a snatch is just where we take a barbell from the ground and lift it directly overhead in one movement. And a clean and jerk is where we take it from the floor and bring it to your shoulders, and then it goes overhead kind of in a second movement. You essentially get 3 attempts on both of those lifts to lift your best lift. And that's Olympic weightlifting. And then weightlifting, I guess from the other terminology is, we're going to lift weights and other variations from dumbbells to kettlebells to other barbell type movements.
Okay. But do you do the one to prepare for the other, for the Olympic level?
Yeah, so
It's all
so from an Olympic level, I don't have any Olympic athletes at this point. My daughter, she competes in national level weightlifting. See, 2 years ago, she was national champion, set some American records. She went back this year. She got second this year.
what's her name?
JC.
JC.
Last name's Mann, just like mine. And she'll be going back. She's qualified to go back again this year. And right now at the gym, we've got, I think, 5 athletes that have qualified to go compete at nationals. And we'll go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the end of June to go compete. Hoping to have maybe 12 or 15 by the time we actually take off. So.
Okay, very cool, very cool. What about you, Taylor? Do you have any students who are Olympic bound?
I mean, not necessarily, but I have some students that have definitely put in the effort and they've improved their scores like substantially from last year. So that's all I'm looking for, is for them to beat their personal best, not necessarily for them to go and be the best. As long as we're improving day by day.
Okay. Do you know when you see that one person who has that potential? Do you know it when you see it? Do you go, yeah, they got that, whatever it is, it factor?
I would say yes. Like, I think that it's a really small percentage of them. But I think that it's pretty easy to pick out as a coach. Like, there's one that, like, they just want to do the work. Because like anything else, if you want to become great at something, you can't just show up. You have to show up and you have to put in the work and you have to put in the effort. And sometimes you have to do the things that the other ones, it's not as fun for them to do. And I can support that wholeheartedly. Just at the same time, I can support the other ones that they're there and they're moving around and they're trying to learn and they just want to have fun with it. And I completely respect that side of it as well. There's no urgency to, like, you have to compete, you need to go do these things to be able to improve. The goal that I have with all of my athletes is, hey, let's make fitness fun. And if you want to have fun with fitness and then you want to maybe take it to a next level, I can show you where to go. And maybe you try the next level and you're like, it's not my thing. Okay. We can always go back into continuing to keep fitness as a fun thing, so that way it really sticks with these guys for the rest of their lifetime is the big goal.
Okay. Well, it's been fun talking to the two of you, and appreciate you coming in and enlightening us, because I had no idea. And just even knowing about the Hamilton County Sports Complex is a pretty cool thing. So thank you so much for joining us. Brandon Mann and Taylor Muscar, right?
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Here
us.
on Inside Indy. And
Appreciate
thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.